Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Wonderlust podcast. We are your Mystic Sisters. Well, we are our Mystic Sisters.
Yes.
We are the closest thing we each have to a twin. So if you have someone like that in your life, just hold on to them. Don't ever let them go. Start a podcast with them.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, just hold on tight.
Someone wise once said, we've got to hold on to what we've got. And, it doesn't really make a difference if we make it or not.
What song are you singing?
Other.
I don't know what song you're singing at me.
Oh, we're halfway there.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, good.
That was... well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So tell me, how are you? We're all dying to know. How's it going?
Hi. It's going. This week has literally been insane. I didn't go to bed until after midnight last night.
Whoa.
But that was because I was really excited about the crafts I was making for the podcast. So by the time you guys hear this, we will have already done the craft show.
Yeah, we probably should have talked about it last week.
Probably, but that's okay.
Hindsight, guys. Hindsight.
It's, we're just, yeah.
I was going to say it's 2020, but...
That's what I was going to say, too.
I feel like that's, too soon. Like, you can't...
I was chihuahuaing for a second.
I was going to say, I had, a chihuahua moment. I was like, no, don't say that. Don't say that. It's 2021.
Don't do it. But, yeah, so we're going to do this craft show, and we, maybe got some T-shirts.
You have it on.
I have it on. Do you love it?
I love it. Hold, please. Don't stop. I'm just going to yell down the stairs.
Sounds good.
Fucking hell. Oh my god. These guys are killing me today. They were doing this for literally right after you called. They started barking a bunch and I'm like, y'all, it's like the saran wrap that's on the door to keep it nice and warm in here. It's really windy out. The trees are
just spray
going like
bottle.
that, and I just wish they would listen to me because they are convinced that someone's trying to break in.
Oh my god, the howling. The howling. Yes, I do. I love it. Okay, but you have to keep that in.
All right, we may have to keep this in.
We have to keep it in.
They are singing the song of their people.
And if I was there, we would both be downstairs howling with them.
Oh, 100%. They're probably like, she's dead up there. That's why she's not howling with us.
Why isn't she with us singing our song?
All right, let me try to go get them to listen to reason real quick. All right.
Okay, real quick, listening to you be like, please stop, please be quiet, just reminds me of Evie one time when she was 4. She was scolding Yahtzee.
Uh-huh.
She was like, no, Yahtzee. And then she went, 1. She's doing that you're in trouble countdown. I'm like, honey, he doesn't understand that.
Oh, boy, if they understood the you're in trouble countdown.
I know. She's like, Yahtzee, 1. I said 1. I'm like, oh my god.
Wow.
But yeah, so we're going to be in a really fun craft show. We got...
Yeah, we are. Well, half of us are. Were.
Yes. I have corralled some friends to keep me company in shifts.
Nice.
So
Thank you, friends.
yes, thank you, friends.
Thanks to all our friends.
Yeah, we got T-shirts. We got a giant poster. Did you see the snap that I sent you?
Okay, my phone has been on 1%
Oh, right.
all day
Yep.
because some people who are not here this weekend took all of the phone chargers out of the house. And I'm like, there are 2 of you. You don't need, 12 phone chargers. Every single cord
It's gone.
ever is not here, yes. And I've been downstairs all day because I wanted to hang out with the pups.
Yeah.
And I've just, out of, forgetfulness and laziness, I forgot to grab it. So it's been up here all day.
So, full disclosure, I mean, I sent you a picture, but I made a poster that has our logo on it, and it says, "Not all who wander are lost."
Oh, nice. I love that.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I live for it. I'm so happy. That's amazing.
Yeah, so while this week has been insane, and like I said, I was up until midnight working on the custom
such a
spirit
badass.
board.
I fucking want one so bad, you guys. This thing looks so cool. Oh my gosh. I want to have seances. I want to ask questions to the ephemeral world.
Yes. I also did take, small clips so I can turn it into a TikTok to show how it progressed.
Nice. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was so excited with how it turned out last night. I legit couldn't sleep because I have problems.
Oh my gosh. Why? Because you were so excited?
Yes. I was like, oh my God.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
It was
Excuse me.
midnight, and then I had a meeting
I
this
know.
morning, and then...
Yeah. No, okay, maybe it's a small issue.
Yeah.
But
So things have been busy, but very exciting. Also,
that's so exciting.
it is very exciting. And I'm going to be texting you nonstop while we're there.
Yay!
Also, though, I had some weird shit happen to me today again.
God damn it. Is your garage door opening again? Did someone
No,
break in?
no.
Was it the wind?
This is weirder. So, I was really tired, and I've been stressed out. And not because of the podcast stuff. I'm excited about this stuff. But, so I was doing meditation, and I listened to guided meditations. Specifically, shout out to Joe Tracy. His shit is amazing. You can find him on Patreon and YouTube.
What up, Joe?
Yes. So, I was listening to one of his videos, and I've listened to a lot of them before, but when I meditate, I have to listen to something, because otherwise my mind will just wander. And even when I'm listening, I can tell when I've stopped paying attention, and I need to, actually actively listen. Mm-hmm. So, I'm listening, and he's saying this sentence, imagine, and he goes through this whole, phrase, imagine or think about the muscles in your head relaxing, and he goes through and he's talking about it, and I heard the tail end of it, or I kind of heard it but didn't process it, and I was like, oh shit, I need to listen. And then it replayed that same part that I didn't listen to. I was like, what? Is it glitching? My phone just replayed the part that I heard the tail end of but didn't listen, seamlessly.
Wow, that's so weird.
And then it did it again.
It just kept replaying it over and over again?
No. So, okay, I was like, whoa, that's weird. Maybe I imagined it. So I'm listening, I'm getting further into the meditation, and he's saying something again, and I'm like, crap, I need to, focus my mind on this.
It was a different part?
It was a different part, and I didn't touch the recording. And it did it again.
You guys heard it here first. My sister has psychic powers.
LOL. I was like, what is
so
happening?
That would freak me the hell out, and that's also very funny and so weird.
And it did it seamlessly. It didn't cut out. It finished a phrase and then seamlessly went back to the beginning when I wasn't listening. Not the whole beginning
That's
of the whole
so
video.
weird.
It was just the little part that I zoned out on.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it actually replayed? It wasn't just he says it twice in the tape?
No, he doesn't say it twice.
Wow.
It replayed itself.
Ooh.
The exact same words. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. I don't know what happened.
So interesting.
I know. I don't know how to take that. It's a little weird.
It's definitely weird, but also maybe I am an X-Man.
I know, right? When I was listening to the meditation...
Is it X-Men?
I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
though. Would you say you're an X-Men?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know what they call themselves individually, but who cares?
An X-individual.
Yeah, but that also sounds
weird.
weird.
An X-person?
Yeah.
All of it sounds bad.
Yeah.
X-lady? I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so that's my weird update. And, we'll be posting... Well, we'll have posted a bunch about the craft show that goes on this weekend. So,
Hell yeah.
thanks preemptively to everybody who's been supporting us. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone. You guys are awesome, and we love you all.
love you so much.
You're very special people.
But what about you? How are you?
I am full of peace, love, and joy, my friend. I am chilling. I have had a good last couple days. Got to hang out with a bunch
Yay.
of people that I haven't seen. So that was really exciting. It warmed my heart. I pulled a prank on someone, and it went really well.
Yes. Love it.
I don't know. Should I say
Yes.
it? I feel dumb
No,
saying it.
you have to say it now.
All right. So, someone I know is a prankster, and they like to do weird things just to freak people out. And they like to come up with weird ways just in the future, just like a preemptive list of like ways to freak people out. And it's like harmless, It's like pulling a potato out of your fridge and just eating it like it's normal in front of somebody.
Yuck.
Yeah, exactly, because it gets a reaction out of somebody, and then you're like, no, I'm just fucking with you, and it's just like weird and stupid.
Yep.
All right. So I was at a friend's house, and they had on their car or on their fridge a magnet that was like a bumper sticker shaped magnet that said, I'm so gay I can't drive straight. And, as a queer individual, queer identifying person, I thought that was fucking hilarious. And I was like, oh, that's a good one. And then I was like, oh my God, I should put it on their car because this person is straight, and it doesn't matter, but it's just one of those things that, like, they would do to mess with somebody. So I did it, and, like, they didn't find it, and they drove around with it all day. And someone from their work took a picture of their car and was like, is this your car?
They drove around with it all day?
All day. I was so happy. I was, like, so worried that I was going to ruin it. Because I'm the worst. I can't prank people. I can't surprise people. I tell everybody right away.
Yeah.
But no, I was fully prepared to let that one ride out, pun intended.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I was so proud of myself. I was like, that's so funny. Because it's not meant, well, first of all, it's not offensive. And second of all, wasn't meant to or was going to be taken offensively.
Yeah.
And also, it was just
Funny.
a good time
Yeah.
all around.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I didn't know.
Harmless little magnet bumper sticker prank.
Yeah, so she sent me the video of him, like, driving off.
I
And it was really
dying.
funny, but I assumed that it would have been discovered, like, very soon after. So the fact that they were driving around all day with it, and somebody asked them if it was their car.
Yeah, someone, like, texted him a picture of it. I was like, that's so funny. Because, like, I talked to them on the phone and was like, how was your day? Anything crazy or weird happened when you were driving around? Nope, nothing? Okay. Then he got a call back. That was like, oh yeah, I meant to tell you. Do you know anything about a bumper sticker on my car?
And then you
Of course, I
died.
just started dying
Yep,
immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I was really proud of myself for that. So that was a good time had today.
That is a great one. I really like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm also excited to, get into this week, science and nature. It was honestly kind of throwing me a little bit for a loop because I was like, okay, I came hot out the gate with Lake Baikal
Yes, you did.
and caves.
And the Strid.
And the strid, exactly. So I was like, those combine both my love of snature.
Snature, yes. Ooh, that's our
Snature.
sister subject. Snature.
Snature. Professor Snature.
Ooh,
Ew.
always.
Oh, stop. She went there.
Oh, if you could
I was
only.
gonna be like,
Oh, I was gonna say if they could only see the disappointment in your eyes when I said that.
well, I thought you were gonna be like, 10 to page 394.
Well, what I was gonna do was one of his weird
Werewolves.
was one of his weird long pauses where he's like, yeah, but I couldn't think of an exact quote, so we're just gonna ignore that. Anyways, Snature.
Someone might think you're up
There we go.
to something.
Thank you so much. Exactly. Yes. Yes. My brain was not prepared for the short notice quote, but thank you for stepping up and helping a sister out, you know.
Yeah, that's the closest thing you have
God
to a
damn
twin.
it.
It comes second nature to me.
Second's nature.
Second's nature.
We're the best.
Oh. All right. So what you gonna tell me about today, huh? You got something on your mind? Something snaturey?
Snaturey, yes. I was gonna do something else. I feel like I say this every week, but I was gonna do something else. And then our Father, who art on the toilet, scrolling through Instagram Reels.
What did he send you? I want to know, because he sends me stuff too, and I'm like, wait a minute. Now, is he sending us the same thing? Because rude.
So he sent me something about a time traveler.
Oh, he did not. Oh, he's mixing it up.
Yes,
All right.
I know. Props to the
Okay.
Father,
Yes.
who art forever on the toilet, scrolling through Instagram Reels.
See, I keep thinking you're gonna say, "Our Father, who art in Maine."
Oh, there we go. he is in Maine currently. So yeah, he sent me stuff about time travelers, and I was like, ooh, that might be a good one, because I felt like what I was gonna do was a little heavy, and after, I don't know, I wanted to do something fun this stressful week. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. I'm glad we're on that vibe, guys. It's gonna be a good time.
Yes.
Not that it's not a good time, because it's always a good time, but it's just
yes.
less rage, more smiles and fun and love and laughter.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Back to time travel. We're gonna start off with a wee story. Okay.
Ooh.
This is the tale of Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard. Yes, he was in the Royal Air Force, and this story takes place in 1935. Okay, so
They had planes back then?
yes.
All right, I just want to point out, I'm not the only one who thought that right away. I know a couple of you did. I don't remember. Do you remember when planes became planes? No, I don't remember the date. Only if you're in North Carolina, do you remember? I'd have to literally look it up. I don't have that on hand in my brain. When did it happen, Sarah?
Early 1900s. Anyways.
She's embarrassed of me.
It's fine. I just couldn't tell if you were serious or not.
I was kidding when I said the first comment, but it's also and also no one knows unless you're from North Carolina.
That's very true. No.
Or Ohio? Isn't there a thing?
With Ohio,
There's
I
beef
think, yeah.
with Ohio and North Carolina, who has the rights to the Wrights or the Wright brothers. Isn't that funny?
Who has the rights to the Wright brothers? Nobody knows.
Anyways, 1930s, we're flying around.
Yes, so in 1935, he is in the RAF, right? And they tell him to go inspect an inactive airbase near Scotland. Okay, So he's like, sure, man. Yeah, I'll go inspect it. He flies over it. It's super run down. And so he's flying over it, and there's, like, grass on the tarmac, and there's, you know, it's all rubbly, and there's cows grazing on the grass that's on the tarmac.
Rubbly cows.
No, they're not rubbly, but they're grazing on the grass that's growing on the tarmac. So, like, it's obviously not been in use for a long time, right? He's like, all right, checked on it. Cows are doing good. I'm going to keep flying.
Checked on it. Looks like shit. Bye.
Literally. So he's flying on, and this is in 1935. So while there were planes, obviously planes were still, you know, they're not as high-tech as they are now. So he's flying around, and he hits some harsh weather. Some crazy winds and rains and storms, right? So in order to avoid an accident, he goes back to fly over the base that he just left. And when he's flying back towards the base, there comes a point when all of the weather just, like, stops.
Like a wall?
Yes. And past that, there's it's all clear weather, bright and shiny, sunshine, perfect weather. And he was very shocked and confused, because obviously that doesn't happen in England.
I was going to say, was he flying over Florida?
Dude, in my notes, I have, that's some Florida weather shit, not England.
That is some Florida weather shit. Yo, it got, like, purple outside the other day, because we were going to have a storm, and I have in air quotes with my air boonies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, I haven't seen the clouds like that since I lived in Florida. But they weren't, like, big and puffy. They were just dark. But yeah, man.
No, Florida, I remember specifically one time when we moved to Florida from England, we were playing outside, and we saw a wall of rain come
down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Because that doesn't happen in England. So yeah, obviously, since he was a pilot in England, he was very shocked and confused, right?
Quite.
And he's like, what is going on? And he looks down at the base, and all of a sudden, the base is in mint condition and being used. There's mechanics in blue overalls attending to the planes, and yellow planes on the runway.
Okay, for a second I thought you said, and blue overalls, and I was like, sentient overalls tending to the planes? They have no arms.
Invisible
How do they do that? Invisible men. And time travelers. What?
This story has it all, folks. You heard it here first. So, the planes are yellow, like bright-ass yellow. And in 1935, planes were not yellow. They painted them silver, and the uniforms at the time for the mechanics were khaki uniforms, not blue. So you got blue-ass overalled mechanics and bright-ass yellow planes on this base that was previously, like, a cow pasture.
Sounds like a lot of ass.
A lot of ass. And so he's baffled, and he's like, what the hell? So he comes back, tells them nobody knows what to make of it, and, you know, he's a very proper Englishman. You know, people take people like him seriously. And nobody's just like, I don't know what you saw. That's weird. So 4 years later, during World War II, he visited the base again. This time, the planes were yellow, and the mechanics were in blue overalls. And
This is in 1942?
This is 4 years later, so this was in 1939. So the first trip when he flew over and saw this, it was abandoned and not in use, but then he flies back in that same year, 1935, and he sees them all with the yellow planes and the blue overalls, and the base is suddenly working. When he gets back, they're like, no, that base isn't in use. Like, I don't know what happened. So then he goes on with his military career and ends up visiting that same base 4 years later to see that exact situation. Yeah, that exact situation play out. And he's like, what the fuck, guys? Because at this point, they're painting their planes yellow, and the mechanics are, wearing the same things. And I think he had initially, like, just dismissed it. He was just confused or whatever. And then he got back to that base and re-remembered and was like, oh my god, that's so crazy.
Yeah, that's really weird.
So, skeptics say that he just might be confused. But in my mind, that doesn't really explain the change in, like, uniforms or the plane colors. Also, he was a wing officer. He's a sir, so he's knighted. He's not a crazy person, supposedly, according to everyone else. And they later say that the planes that he saw on the runway he couldn't identify. And then later he realized it was Miles' Magister plane when he went to go visit the base, real time. Mm-hmm. And the Magister plane was not manufactured until 1938. So they didn't even exist when he flew over that base initially. Mm-hmm.
Yo.
And people take his story a little more seriously because he wasn't even trying to travel through time. It's just something that happened inexplicably.
Where was this?
So this was at a base in England close to Scotland, so northern England.
Interesting. And, what were they doing there?
At the time, I think it was just, an exercise thing. Fly over it, check to see if anybody's there. Okay, come back.
No, I'm talking, what was the base for? When it opened back up? Because I'm it just always makes, shit like that always makes me think of that, the episode of Fringe with the town called Edina.
Yes.
And they, it's a frequency that, keeps them looking normal, or not normal, but it's
yes,
very Twilight Zone-y.
yes.
They all have these weird mutations because the military experimented on them, but then they figured out that if they play this frequency, they look like, they don't have any mutations.
Yes. So with this base, I didn't really say what they picked up doing in the war, but my assumption was that because Britain had entered the war, they started reusing all the bases they had previously shut down because they didn't need to use them. Now they needed them because there was more activity.
Yeah.
That was my assumption, but obviously I'm not 100% sure on that.
I mean, that's pretty logical, though.
Yeah, because, in World War II, the base that we lived at was more utilized, and I think at this point it's mainly, housing and schools.
Oh, what? Felwell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the bases throughout history kind of go through ebb and flow, and so I just kind of figured that with the World War II ramping up, they're like, hey, let's utilize this space and fix it back up. Kick those cows out. Poor cows.
Kick those cows to the curb. They're rubbly.
They weren't rubbly. So yeah, that was the first story I found that I thought was super fucking interesting.
Yeah, that really is.
Yeah, especially because he didn't do it on purpose, right?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about time travel, it's been a popular topic in science fiction for ever. Decades. When I looked it up, it said decades, but then I was thinking about it, and H.G. Wells published his book, The Time Machine, in 1895. So it's been a topic for science fiction for a hot minute.
Yeah.
But, examples that I could think of was Harry Potter, Hermione does the time turner, Fringe, Doctor Who, Outlander, Star Trek, Back to the Future, X-Men,
oh man,
Days of Future Past, etc., etc. Some of these stories use a vehicle.
Ancient aliens.
Oh yeah, right.
Come on, can't leave that one out.
So Doctor Who, Star Trek, Back to the Future, they all use machines. A lot of these things use some sort of vehicle, time traveling machine, right? Harry Potter uses magic with the time turner. Although I guess technically that might also be a machine.
A mechanism.
Yeah, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. They don't go back in time, but in the story, they create a time loop where they're repeating the same day over and over.
Yeah, that's also in The Magicians.
See, okay, yep. And so that's supernatural powers, Right. I believe with X-Men, Days of Future Past, that's also somebody using their powers to send people back in time as well. In Outlander, you're going to have to tell me, because I don't know how.
Oh, gosh, let me tell you.
Yes, please.
In Outlander, you hear the buzzing on the rocks, and you put your hands on them, and if you can hear the buzzing, it'll take you to another land. And also, if you have a gemstone on you, apparently that's supposed to help. Or like, if your mom did it and then she got pregnant. Fuck, I'm just ruining
I don't
all
care.
the shows. I was gonna say, then she got pregnant from a dude who was from like the 17th century, and then or 18th century.
18th century, yeah.
Yeah, and then had you back in the 60s, but like really, you're from that time. How weird is that? Her dad was like 200 years older than her.
That is actually crazy.
Yo, no, so yeah,
that's magic then.
It's the stones. So it's kind of like their
Magic
theory in Outlander
stones.
is that there are these like ancient vortex locations because there's more than one, but one of them is Craigna Dune, which is where she goes in Inverness in Scotland, and she hears this like buzzing sound, and she's drawn to the stones, and she touches them, and instantly she's like she looks around and everything's different. The town's gone, and she's transported to the 18th century.
Dun dun
but
dun.
There comes dun 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 dun. That would be terrifying. Mm-hmm. And
sure would.
and then there's another sort of area that has like the same legend, but it's in the Caribbean, and it's called A Band Away.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is why I named my climbing cave A Band Away.
Oh, okay. Now it's coming together for me.
Yeah, no, it's good. So yeah, so there is that theory too, these like weird sort of natural ancient vortexes, which is like giving me Bermuda Triangle vibes kind of, because I feel like there's some sort of time travel-esque stories involved there.
Possibly. We're going to get into it, okay? So, yeah, obviously in fiction, time travel is used a lot as a device for storytelling, right? Mm-hmm. And some of the best stories involve time travel. But in reality, not all scientists think that it is possible, and some think that an attempt would be fatal for humans, right? Mm-hmm. So then we got to think about time in general. What is time? It's an illusion. Bam! Done. That's it. That's what's in my notes. Einstein...
That was aggressive.
Thank you.
And uncalled for. But heard that.
So Einstein, says that time is an illusion and it's relative. If you want to learn some science from somebody who just learned all this stuff today and yesterday, please continue listening.
That's what I want to learn some science from.
So Einstein says that time is the fourth dimension. So obviously we know that for something to be three-dimensional or 3D, we're talking about length, width, and height. When I think about like a 3D box. So the fourth dimension, time, provides a direction for said thing in that space. And according to Einstein, it only moves forward through time. Einstein also has the theory of special relativity, which says that time slows down or speeds up depending on how fast you move relative to something else. So the best example that I could find, and I'll post a picture of it because it was helpful for me to understand. Because I was like reading this shit and I'm like, why did I do this to myself? My brain prefers ghosts as opposed to theoretical like space and time theories.
It's hard to wrap your head around some of the it gets dense on some science topics. Really do get dense. You really gotta because I mean I feel your pain.
Thank you, because I was reading it and I'm like, this article isn't making sense, so I found this NASA article that explains it, but I'm pretty sure it's for children. I'm like, yes, I can get on board with this. I understand now that you've explained it to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Sometimes that's you gotta start somewhere. You know what I mean? You have a baseline of understanding to at least visualize and realize what these weird words mean.
Yeah, and
equations or whatever else.
Well, and I'm a visual person too, so trying to read this stuff in an article, I'm like, I don't get it. But this picture of what I'm going to share later is really helpful. So it's kind of like a space-time blanket, okay? So picture we're holding a blanket like we used to do, or holding the parachute games we used to play when we were kids in gym class where everybody's holding the parachute. Mm-hmm. Okay. Holding out a blanket between us. And the earth is like a ball that's sat in the blanket. And
Right.
obviously, the blanket, it's the way that it's held.
Bends to
And
fit.
it bends to fit, right? So, according to this theory, the Earth's mass affects the way we experience time. The closer an object gets to the dip in the blanket, where the Earth is in, like, holding down the space blanket, the faster time accelerates. Right?
Right.
Does that make sense, though?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yeah, that's like orbits, the orbits that are closer together in a small space, they're going to go a lot
faster,
faster
exactly.
than the ones that are a lot bigger because their gravitational pull is pulling it there.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
the closer you are to the Earth's mass, the faster you experience time.
Right.
Or the faster you travel, the slower you experience time. So, for example, there's an experiment that used 2 clocks set to the exact same time, right? Mm-hmm. One stayed on Earth, while the other flew in an airplane going in the same direction that Earth rotates. After the airplane flew around the world, the scientists compared the 2 clocks, and the clock on the fast-moving airplane was slightly behind the clock on the ground. So the clock on the airplane traveled slightly slower than time, 1 second per second, than the clock that was on Earth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So time travel is technically possible without a crazy machine or a DeLorean, according to this example and theory, but it's only by like a few microseconds with our current technology, okay?
Yeah.
So,
I used to literally, not to cut you off with the story.
nope, love it. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah, no, I used to, so when I lived in New York, one time when I lived in New York, I walked to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived almost exactly 100 blocks from where I worked. And so I could take the train and get there in about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could walk, and it would take me about 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I would constantly be aware of the difference in that time. Because in a way, when I mean like time traveling, it's like, I'm getting there faster than I naturally am able to physically
that's also
get
true.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
So the people that I would interact with, the experiences, the cars on the street, everything would be different. Because if I walk there, I'm getting there 2 hours later. If I get on the train, I'm getting there in 20 minutes. So the whole situation of probabilities are completely different. Mm-hmm. The people that I interact with on the street on the way down, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. It was like, this is where my mind would go. Like this, I'm sure you guys are like, oh yeah, we get it. We listen to your podcast. Like yeah, I was gonna say you're a weirdo, but like, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it.
So yes. Continue. I'm sorry, that was my little tangent of like, you can time travel too, guys.
No, but
it's
it is very true. It's just not in the way that people think. So a more dramatic version of this idea is in the movie Interstellar. So when Matthew McConaughey,
I don't think I've seen that.
I've seen it once. I guess Mom and Dad love it.
When did it come out?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, sorry, I'm asking. Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going. Interstellar. Matthew McConaughey.
So in the movie, Matthew McConaughey is a astronaut, and his crew, they land on a planet with an extreme gravitational field.
Wait, Matthew McConaughey is an astronaut?
Dude, I know. Like...
All right.
Yeah, there we go, exactly. So, they land on a planet with an extreme gravitational field caused by a nearby black hole. So, because of this black hole's intense gravitational influence, time slows dramatically for the crew on this planet, making 1 hour of surface time on this planet equal to 7 years on Earth. So, when the crew returns to Earth, Matthew McConaughey's daughter is an old woman, while he appears to be the same age that he left. And while that's a really extreme example, that's exactly what happened with the 2 clocks that were set on at the same time but one stayed on Earth and the other traveled in the plane. It's because the one on Earth was affected more by the gravitational pull than the one that was in the air on the plane.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So this is a thing. It's just we haven't been able to do it to that extreme yet. So why haven't we been able to do that to the extreme yet? And it comes down to velocity. Realistically, like every freaking sci-fi thing ever, you would have to travel close to the speed of light. Like, you know, you see that in sci-fi and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But it's really a real thing. And we can't get to that speed yet. So that's why we haven't been able to do that. Oh, another example of time traveling, going back to the Matthew McConaughey thing. So, you know, like his daughter was a little girl, he came back, and he was the same age, but his daughter was older. So in real life, cosmonaut Sergei Adambaev, he's Russian, I'm assuming.
Eastern European.
There we go, thank you. So he spent a total of 747 days in space, right?
Wow.
And went approximately 27,000 kilometers per hour, which meant, while he was in space, which meant that he aged roughly 20 milliseconds less than the rest of us on Earth. So when he came back to Earth, this makes him technically only 0.02 seconds younger than he would have been if he had never traveled through space. But again, that shows that the theory is still valid. It's just we cannot get to light speed in order to experience that at more extreme levels. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, sometimes some scientists believe that, okay, if you can travel, you can only travel to the future. It's a one-way ticket. You can't go back. Okay? So, according to scienceborealis.ca, this is where I'm getting this information from. And there's a quote that says, interstellar travel reaching close to the speed of light might be possible, says Dr. Jamie Matthews, professor of astrophysics at the University of British Columbia. But this voyage is one way into the future and not back into the past. So the only way that it would be possible theoretically, so like we already know that time travel to the future is possible, we just don't have the technology to get there. So now if we're talking in the past, and according to this professor and Einstein, the only like theoretical ways that you can go back in time is through a wormhole, essentially. And for those of you...
But you can't control that, right?
Not as of yet. So, wormholes are theoretical areas of space-time that are warped in a way that connects 2 points in space. Like, so you can get there instantaneously. However, according to the equations that Einstein is using, saying that these wormholes can mean that you can connect 2 points in space-time. So that would allow you to go back in space, right? These equations only work for very small, teeny tiny particles and would collapse very quickly. So at this moment, even this theoretical bridge, which is called an Einstein-Rosen bridge, cannot be used to go back into the past because it doesn't live long enough and it's not stable. So the wormholes can be created, but they can't be created long enough to actually be used. Okay?
Interesting.
Yes.
There was this, I was thinking earlier, another show that has time travel is 12 Monkeys. Also Galaxy Quest.
Oh, Galaxy Quest. Why didn't I think of that? That's such a good one.
Activate the Omega-13, which is actually going into the past, and it rearranges
everything.
The time. Yeah. But no, 12 Monkeys, they try to go back in time because it's like a post-apocalyptic thing, and they try over and over and over again, and it's like one of those things where, like, I mean, they finally get it, but it's like a thing where the problem is it's not stable enough for people to do it, so it's like, there's that whole aspect of it.
Indeed. And then, okay, so now what we've gathered is time travel to the future is possible and has been done. It's just not done to the extremes that are seen in science fiction.
Right.
Time travel to the past is theoretically possible, but like really not really, honestly.
But what if you have a DeLorean?
Okay. So, if there are, let's just skip that now and say, okay, if you could travel back in time using a machine or, technology advances to where we could do that, what about the paradoxes? So when you think about, Back to the Future, right? Marty McFly goes back to the past and accidentally prevents his parents from meeting each other, which effectively would have erased him, right? Because if his parents didn't meet each other, then he could not be born, and therefore he wouldn't exist. But the question is, if he had undone his own existence, how could he have traveled back in time in the first place, right? So this is something called the grandfather paradox. And, it comes back to the idea of, the reason why it's named this is because, if you go back in time and kill your grandfather before your father is conceived, then how are you still alive to go back in time to kill your grandfather in the first place? That's exactly what it is. However, a recent study, the University of Queensland, which is in Australia, may have the answer to this baffling paradox. In this study, the researchers proved mathematically that paradox-free time travel is possible, and shows in this study that the universe will self-correct to avoid inconsistencies. So this means it's kind of like I'm trying to think of a movie where that happens. I'm thinking of A Discovery of Witches. They go back in time, and even though they've messed with things, the universe in that series just self-corrects. And that's what this study at the University of Queensland is saying as well. So that theoretically, even if we do go back in time, we would never be able to alter events to create a different future because it would just self-correct somehow.
I'm not a super fan of the simulation theory, but it's things like this that I'm like, it makes it really hard to be like, no.
Right, though?
It's so annoying. It's the most annoying theory to me because I want to believe in everything and that everything's connected and that everything has meaning and purpose and then this, and it's like, and maybe it does, maybe the universe is like this living organism and is beyond our scope and realm of understanding. And so I will subscribe to that, but literally that's like the first thing I think of is simulation theory, and I'm like, well,
if it's a simulation, then exactly.
It's just so interesting.
Yes. So I thought that was super interesting that they did a study about it. So even if you could go back and past, they were working on the idea that even if you did go back in time and do something like that, it would just self-correct, which is just crazy to me. However, while all of these theories and ideas are super interesting, it's highly unlikely that we would ever be able to visit the past. Going to the future is one thing, but going back to the past seems very unlikely. And
all right, millennials, did you hear that? There's no going back. All right, the 90s came and went. We are grown-ups now.
Are we?
We've gotta. No, but we are old enough to be called grown-ups. So
still terrifying. I don't like that option
this
either.
This is the sign that, unfortunately, that's it. We're here now. There's no going back.
There's no going back. Okay, and so. One of the best quotes that I found about this was from the late Stephen Hawking in his book Black Holes and Baby Universes. And the quote says, "The best evidence that we have that time travel into the past is not possible and never will be is that we have not been invaded by hordes of tourists from the future."
Oh, you think that the future tourists aren't going to be sly dogs? Hello, we see you, Keanu Reeves.
I know. I'm not going to lie. That one, I was like, well, maybe they can hide it.
Even Greta Thunberg, she people are posting pictures about him. Oh, and then Graham Norton always posts pictures of Daniel Radcliffe.
Yep.
Which are hilariously, astonishingly close doppelgangers. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, you gotta watch it. Yeah, no. It's like every time he's on the Graham Norton show, he finds new pictures that look like Daniel Radcliffe, but they're from a century ago or something.
That's so great. Oh, there's one too of John Krasinski, where they look back in time, and I guess there was a early 1900s picture that looked like John Krasinski.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
So, I mean, Stephen Hawking was pretty smart, and he said that. But skeptical Sarah, who, took several hours to research some time travel, and that's it, says, well, maybe. So
She's on the SS, well, maybe, guys, and she's sailing away into the night on a mysterious body of water.
Yep. Stephen Hawking said that you couldn't go back in time, right? There's this one picture that we're also going to post of the London Bridge opening. This picture was captured in 1941 during the reopening of bridge in Gold Bridge, British Columbia, so it's in Canada, right? And in this picture, it's the 1940s. Everybody's dressed like 1940s, and it's very clearly 1940s. But there's this one dude who legit looks like he's wearing a hoodie and a graphic t-shirt.
Oh my God, send it to me right now.
And is wearing and has like a camera or something in his hands. It's his hair, his glasses even look like he does not belong at all. And
what? That had to be photoshopped.
Nope. Okay, but later a forensic report was also carried out of this photo, and the image was found to be clean and clear. There was no tampering with it.
All right. So I saw this thing on Netflix. I'm not going to say what it is because I've spoiled so many things today. I won't spoil something new.
No, let's spoil all the things.
No, but it had to do with this guy who was forging documents. And he was so good that, he didn't get caught. He literally didn't get caught. He got in trouble for doing some really awful things. And then people found out that he had been forging documents. He forged so many things, like so many different, honestly, like in it, they were like, we still to this day have no idea how many documents that are in like museums or, that are in historical like archives. We don't know if they're actually real or if they're his.
Oh,
we'd have to go through every single one.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just saying that because, just like you with Stephen Hawking, it's like, it's a natural curiosity of the mind. It's like, and I feel like because we were talking about this on another podcast when we were like, talking about Ghost Hunters and how when we watched it, when like we were kind of younger, we were like, oh my God, that's crazy. They got that on tape. Oh my God. And like now going back and watching it, I'm kind of like, well.
It doesn't sound like that.
It's not definitive proof, but you just kind of have more of a skeptical eye with it. So I don't know, but that is really interesting because it looks very, he does look very out of place. The glasses to me kind of give me like, "Oh brother, where art thou?" sheriff vibes, but like the t-shirt and like the sweatshirt and that weird camera that he's holding, it looks like a fucking
it looks like
it's
my
weird.
Camera.
Because you also see this guy here in front of him with the striped tie. He's holding a camera and it looks different.
It looks bigger too.
Yeah.
No, I don't know either way. If it's a fake, it's a very good fucking fake. It might have been.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's just a very compelling image. At least makes you think.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was super interesting. So, here's a story of another potential time traveler. Okay, this man's name is Andrew Carlson. Okay, in 2002, Andrew Carlson set off all kinds of alarm bells with the FBI on Wall Street when he quickly turned $800 into $350 million via some high-risk stock trades. Okay?
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So he was arrested, and he confessed to police that he was from the year 2256. He would not divulge the location of his time machine for fear it would fall into the wrong hands.
When did this happen?
2002. So,
okay.
Some articles claim that the FBI couldn't find any evidence of wrongdoing on his part, and there's no record of him before 2002. After he made bail, he disappeared and could not be found.
That's really bizarre, and also, I feel like I actually heard a recent story about this.
So,
Not this past year, but I think in 2019, I like saw some weird Daily Mail article where it was like some kid was claiming to be from.
oh yeah, that's
the
one of
future.
those things that Dad sent me. Actually, was that, but there wasn't a lot of info on that one, so I didn't bring it up in here. This story originated from. So I found one of the articles on Yahoo, so from 2002. And 2002 is obviously in the early days of the interwebs, or at least early days of easy access for everybody, right?
Right.
And this the very original article before it was shared on Yahoo, was on a site or a publication called the Weekly World News. So the Weekly World News is actually just an entertainment publication.
Okay.
Yahoo circulated it in the early age of the internet and published it in the gossip and entertainment section.
So it's not real.
No. However, it's still being circulated and reprinted as if it's a real story.
That's the problem with the
I know.
internet. You know, everybody thinks that they've got the fucking real news. They're looking out for fake news, and it's just...
But then the legit fake news that you can trace back,
and people are like, this is real news.
Yep, and I looked through a bunch of articles, and it took me, by the way, way too long. So I was like, this cannot be real. And it took me way too long to find, there was a Snopes article that debunked it, and was like, I know, I do. And that debunked it. It took me way too long to find it, and I'm like, so many people probably think this story is real.
Wait, did I tell you about the guy that I found when I was... I don't think I did, when I was doing the Imaginary Friends research. No. So I looked up, like, Imaginary Friends on YouTube, which, like, yeah, go have fun with that, guys. But one of them was the show My Strange Addiction?
Yeah.
On TLC.
Yep.
So, it has the TLC, like, logo in the bottom corner. So I'm like, oh, well, this is an official video, obviously. And it's this guy who's, like, gotta be in his mid-30s, you know, walking around. Sweet guy, you know. And he's walking around, like, with his arm out, as if he's holding someone's hand, and he says that he married, like, his imaginary, or that he's, like, trying to marry his imaginary friend. And I forget what her name is, but he's, like, they are interviewing, like, he goes out to restaurants with her, and, like, they are interviewing the wait staff, and they're like, yeah, he comes every week, and he's a regular, and they were like, you know, you could, like, they're, like, asking him questions, like, okay, but, like, you know, it's
That's
fake,
so
right?
weird.
And they're like, what do you want me to say? He orders 2 entrees, and he eats one of them. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And so then his friend comes in at the end, and it's like, you know, and he's trying to go to the court to, like, get his marriage recognized by the state to his imaginary friend. And I'm sure, as many of you have guessed already, that was completely fake, but I bought it for such a long time and was looking for other sources of this, and then I realized, I was like, oh, that's not actually on the fucking show, because I was trying to figure out where I can watch that episode, because it was like a little trailer, I thought. Turns out, no, it was someone's very convincing fucking YouTube channel, and they thought it was a funny prank, and you know what? It was, and you got me.
No, and that's exactly what happened. So, folks, this is also why when we're researching, multiple sources are always good. This is a good rule for anything. If you see an article on Facebook that says this is what's happening,
or a tweet,
or a tweet.
Twitter.
Make sure you go to multiple sources. Like,
don't just send that shit out. It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
Like, and I'm talking from firsthand experience. I'm not saying, like, it's embarrassing for you. I'm saying I've lived that and had to be like, oh, shit, I had no idea what I was posting. That fucking sucks for me.
That's just like the whole kangaroos and deers are, like, the same animal. Her drink almost came out her nose, guys.
Haven't you ever heard of Pangea?
I know. Oh, my God. I still
can't.
And actually, so yeah, this story.
That's the person I pranked with the bumper sticker, you guys.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really funny. So they deserved it.
They definitely
got
did.
me, and I got them back.
So yeah, this story, definitely a fake, and people just don't realize it. And like I said, it's still being circulated today on, like, you know, UFO or, like, crazy fact sites. Like, Ranker had his story on there, and, like, and Quora.
My God.
Anyways, so, Yeah, it's tabloid, completely made up, and apparently the FBI, or no, the Security and Exchange Commission and the FBI were flooded with a rash of inquiries from journalists seeking confirmation about this. And the spokesman at the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission was like, when they talked to him, he like had a weary sigh and was like, yeah, no, it's not a thing. As soon as he heard the words time traveler and insider trader. So yeah, the whole story is pure fantasy and there's no truth in it at all, he says. This is the kind of story that belongs in the same file as Elvis' shrine found on Mars.
Okay, but that one's real.
Okay, sure. But no, I just thought that was funny. And there was another one too that I found that was like, and it was only on a couple sites, and it was much easier to debunk than this one, because I'm not kidding. There were so many articles that they're like, oh my god, this is so crazy, it's a real thing. It's not, guys. But there was another one where they're like, yeah, this guy went to a basement, and he was doing some plumbing or something. He went into basement and ran into an older version of himself, and there was like tattoos, and like he's talking to himself and asking questions, and he even recorded the whole thing on video. It turned out it was just a video advertising the importance of, like, health insurance or life insurance.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yes. I was like, ha! Got you guys
commercials be going in sometimes.
Right? So extra.
And it is jarring. It's like, please let those creative people that are making those commercials do something actually like worth their time. Because they're good at their jobs.
They are. So as far as, like, actual, like, time travelers, I mean, kind of like Stephen Hawking said, like, there's not really evidence. Like I said, the closest I got was that story of Andrew Carlson, and it's definitely made up. But, like the first story I shared, I did find a couple of other stories regarding time slips, which is related, but, you know, not quite the same thing. So there's this guy named Ken Moe, and in 1969, he's driving with his friend in Abbeville, Louisiana, okay? So, October 20th, 1969, he's with his friend Charlie in his car around 1:30 in the afternoon. It's a nice day out, it's kind of hot, so they're driving around, you know, it's 1969, so I don't think they had AC back then. So,
say 69 one more time.
69.
It's nice in 69.
Yeah, so in 1969, they didn't have AC in 1969. So they're driving around with their car, windows down, you know, chilling on the road, and they drive past this old car.
Wait, was it the summer of 69?
It was the summer of 69. You're welcome. Wait, no, it wasn't. Sorry, it was October. I got really caught up in the 69. All right.
You know what? Me too, girl. And let's.
Anyways.
It is what it is.
Anyways, so they're driving down the road, and, you know, Ken notices this old car that is mint-colored and also in mint condition. No, but it was really old. He described it as like a turtle shell, so I'm assuming it looked like, you know, an old 1940s-ish car, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it must be doing like a car show, or maybe it's a vintage collector or something like that. But the lady who was driving the car was also wearing 1940s clothing. And there was a small child in the front seat wearing the same style clothing. Also, like, there were no rules back then about having kids in the front seat, right? Yeah. And they're looking, so like, wow, this is really cool. And like, they noticed the lady is upset. So they ask her if she's okay, and she's like on the verge of tears. She's very upset, and she shakes her head no, and they ask her if she needs help, and she nods her head. So they pull in front of her and pull over to the side of the road so they can all pull over and they can help her. Well, when they pull over, her car completely disappeared. It's gone. And another car pulls up behind them, and the guy in that car starts panicking, saying that the car in front of him just disappeared. And they're like, what the actual fuck? So it's 3 guys that were able to verify it. 2 of them were in the same car. One was not, just pulled up after and was like, blinked and it was gone.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na, ghost car.
Okay, so this is my other thing. I'm like, are time slips or are time slips ghosts? Because I was looking up time slips too, and a lot of them, like, we're talking about time slips in, like, medieval castles. Like Leeds Castle, this one guy went to the top of the castle, and he looked out of the window and saw, like, the moat was full of medieval boats, and he's like, oh, maybe there's a festival, but nobody else saw it. And that, like, you know, that sounds like a ghost story to me, personally.
Yeah, I feel like, personally, we actually don't know anything. And I'm not saying this to, like, discount science. I believe in, you know, the things that we discover. But it's also, like, you know, in the same, on the other side of that coin, just like in astrophysics, physics, when you dive into things so deep, it really is hard to understand what we understand, to understand what we're actually looking at. So...
Well, and
as far as
to me, so for me, like when it comes to like we're jumping to ghost stories a little bit, but when we're talking about like residual hauntings and stuff like that,
right,
to me that seems more time slippy than an actual haunting.
Well, yeah, and it's like, who's to say it's not a time slip? Who's to say that like what we perceive as ghosts isn't this? Okay, so a lot of people generally kind of agree, as from what I have understood in the paranormal community, you know, that there are residual type haunts, you know what I mean, and that they follow a pattern, and that there is a leftover energy, you know, and that it's energy related, and that it's the energy that we have in our life or in the time that we're here, and I feel like really, you know, when people perceive these things or have these experiences, it's so fleeting and it's so quick. And also, you know, you have to think about how you're perceiving that in the moment. I'm sure your adrenaline is like spiking, and it's like, how are you even dealing with that situation at the time to go back and remember it? How can we really say that it is one or the other?
Is it a haunting or is it a time slip? And to me, you can't say either way, personally. I don't think so. Because then even when you're talking about this, you're talking about, like, energy being left over, quote-unquote.
Exactly. But it's also...
what if it's not left over? Maybe we're peeking. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe there's just a thinning of dimensions or whatever. So, yeah, that's my whole... I got really interested in the time slips part because I'm like, these sound like hauntings. And hauntings kind of sound like time slips sometimes. And maybe
it's like they're
related.
That's kind of the thing that I love a lot about science in general is like the more that you look into things, the more it's like, why are things like this? And we genuinely don't know. It's like we can observe, but the why about so much of it is just left to theories, you know, and to, you know, to our best understanding of the situation. But also when you think about how we as a species perceive things, you know, it's like we're seeing things through a very specific lens. So there's that also.
And I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, so that's my deep dive into kind of time travel, kind of time in general, and how time works.
Fuck yeah.
Time is a slippery bitch, you know.
That slippery bitch time.
Yep, exactly.
Oh my god.
But yeah.
Wow. That was good.
Yay, I'm so glad you liked it.
I did. That got me. Got me going.
Going, right? Because that's
got me going.
And I had to like stop myself from going down the time slip into ghost hauntings and residual hauntings rabbit hole. That might be for another time, to be honest with you.
For another time.
A
little slip of the time there. Anyways, here we are. We have returned. All right. Well, that was a delicious topic, and I'm very excited for it. Got something a little...
is a slippery bitch. That needs to be part of the title.
Oh, it does. It does. Because you know what? What I'm about to tell you kind of fits into the slippery bitch category.
Yes. Tell me. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, first, I'm going to need everyone to hold hands with the person on the right. It's okay. We're all listening to this alone.
I was going to say, should I hold my own hand? Like,
I'm
what?
holding my own hand, okay? And close your eyes if you feel so inclined, and imagine this. You are trapped in a glass room.
I don't like this already.
There are people all around you. Some of them you've seen before. Some of them are weirdly wearing the same outfit, but you know who they are. Like, they're like trying to dress up like twins, and you're kind of like, okay, well, that's weird. But you're trapped in this glass room, and they're all staring at you. Some of them have clipboards. And you begin to fall asleep. And as you fall asleep, you're dreaming. And in that space when you wake up, you can't quite remember what it is that you were just holding on to, that you were just dreaming about. But as you're dreaming, people outside of the glass room are watching you. And they're watching you change. Your skin starts to flash out bright colors, different colors.
What the fuck?
Pull up, almost like goosebumps, but into sharp horns and spikes. And you start to shift almost fluidly with your dream.
Animorphs? We're talking about animorphs? No, okay.
We're talking about octopuses, y'all.
Bruh! That was really good. I like that a lot.
Yay.
That was good. I was very confused. I was like, this feels very sci-fi-y.
Doesn't it, though?
Yeah. Also, how come you didn't say octopi?
Okay, because everything that I found said octopuses. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to say, because that's what everyone else literally is saying. They're saying octopuses. So
That just sounds terrible.
octopi sounds like something that they serve at a seafood restaurant, and it makes me upset.
But people do eat octopi.
I love you so much. Okay, so yeah. So let's get into it.
Grammatically speaking, the plural for octopus is octopuses. I hate it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about octopuses out here, y'all.
Yeah.
And I am really excited about it. So a common thing that people say about octopuses is they're like, there's going to be a lot of octopuses in here, so just going to have to acclimate to the pusses.
Stop it. You said that.
I did.
You said that. Okay.
But yeah, no, a lot of people are like, oh, they're so alien-like. They're so different from us, And that really kind of sparked my interest, but I also know that they're incredibly intelligent. And I'll tell you why I wondered about this at the end.
Yeah.
So octopuses have evolved. They are from mollusks, okay? They are members of the mollusk phylum, and so they evolved from like clams, snails, oysters. They used to have, they evolved from creatures with a shell, basically. So they're cephalopods. And they have evolved over 500 million years. Which I think is actually interesting, is the amount of years that it took for them to evolve is also equivalent to the amount of neurons that they have in their body.
Interesting.
So they have about 500 million neurons in their body. For reference, humans have about 100 billion.
And they have how many?
They have 500,000. Or no, 500 million. So they have 500 million. We have about 100 billion.
Oh, that's a lot more.
It is a lot more. Cats have a little bit less than 500 million, and dogs have about the same. So when you compare their intelligence to large-brained mammals, such as cats, dogs, dolphins, or primates, they are very much on par with those groups, which their neurons are actually split between their central brain and their limbs. So 2/3 of their neural activity and their cognitive activity occurs throughout their limbs.
That is so weird.
Yes.
Love it.
It is very interesting. So a lot of people there's stuff out there that says that, oh, octopuses have 9 brains. And I feel like technically that's not true, because it's not that they have like a brain in each one of their legs, but each one of their legs had so there have been studies done where they are trying to assess whether like the central brain is controlling the legs, or whether the legs are like controlling themselves in a way, and they were able to prove that the legs, in fact, or arms, they're actually referred to as arms. A lot of people refer to them as arms, so I guess I'm going to call them arms, so that their arms actually think for themselves. So they will
That sounds terrifying.
sense, but you also have to think about how quickly it can sense and assess its environment.
That's true.
And make really quick decisions, like decisions that we can't possibly, so it's so interesting because, if technically, yes, we have more neurons than they do, but also they can respond, and their reaction time and decision making is unparalleled. Like, it's pretty insane. Yeah, and so they can also, besides like thinking for each, limb thinking for itself, they can also taste and smell using the suction cups.
What?
Yes. So, and another thing, which I thought was really interesting, is that in a way, an octopus can see with its skin. So, octopuses are colorblind. But we know that they can instantly match to camouflage, not just their backgrounds and surroundings, but they can also mimic other creatures. There's actually a species of octopus called the mimic octopus that can literally, it looks like someone painted a snake on the front of its head and body, because it's mimicking like a sea snake. So that way it kind of is blending in. It's creating an illusion of 2 different things at once. But they do this using photoreceptors in their skin. So in a way, their skin almost can see things for them. But when they see things through their eyes, it's a monochromatic. They don't actually see color.
Dude, that is so weird.
Isn't it?
I understand that other creatures perceive the world, different from us. Mm-hmm. But it's so hard when, because, okay, spiders, they have several eyes. So you're like, okay, well, it's, just building a different type of panorama. But, the idea of using different, I don't know, I can't even imagine, being able to, taste and smell through my hands.
It's very interesting.
And also see color through my skin. It sounds like sensory overload to me, to be quite honest with you. It's
just so far from what we experience and what,
Yeah, what we can relate to.
Exactly. So an octopus can camouflage itself in the quickest blink you can blink. It can camouflage itself in 2/100ths of a second. It can change the color, the texture, the shape that it is. So, and here's why. I'm going to break down the layers of its skin real quickly, okay? So, it has a layer of chromatophores, which are responsible for a red, black, and yellow pigment, which stretch and expand, right, to manipulate whether it's going to present red, black, or yellow. Beneath that layer of its skin is another layer called Erytophores, because that provides that iridescent quality. So the Erytophores contain a protein called reflectin, and that reflects blue and green light, and it also can create a shimmering iridescent illusion as well.
It sounds like superpowers, but this is real.
It is. It is crazy real. And I on a couple videos I saw, the octopus will actually try to camouflage itself with the water, the way that the water patterns moving with the light moving through the water.
Ooh, God, that's intense.
It's very, very interesting. So beneath that layer of Erytophores is another layer of skin that contains a reflective tissue called lucifores.
The devil's fours.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. Lucifors.
Yep.
But that layer, is a layer that reflects ambient light, which is responsible for producing white hues. So now here we have the full spectrum available to them at literally the blink of an eye. They can, do whatever. On top of that, on the surface of the skin, they also have a complex structure of papillae. I don't remember how to pronounce this. Papillae. I think it's papillae. It's on the surface of their skin, and that allows their skin to change texture to match the surroundings. So that will create ridges, horns, spikes, bumps.
I had no idea that they could make like spikes like that.
Yeah, no, they can actually. Yeah, they can do whatever. But fun fact, we actually also have the papillae. I don't know. Papillae? I really don't know how to say it. I'm so sorry.
Papillae.
Papillae. But it's on our tongues. It's the texture that's on the tip of your tongue. But obviously, it's much more complex and almost independent. It's very interesting how their skin works. But yeah, so also their skin has photoreceptors, which it's like their skin reflects the light that's around them. Which is how they can understand color since they don't see it.
That is so crazy,
isn't it?
But
they can also choose. They can. What's so interesting to me about that is like they can pick and choose what they want to camouflage. It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna blend in with my background. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be this fish that's in front of me, or I'm gonna be this sea urchin over there.
That's just so crazy.
It gets crazier.
Underwater magicians.
Also, the camouflage is thought to be almost semi-involuntary, kind of like blinking or breathing. Like you do it if you're not thinking about it, but you can also choose to do it.
Okay.
And one researcher observed an octopus changing over 177 times in 1 hour.
Whoa.
So they can they can just change. And so what I said in the beginning was actually based off of a video that I saw a while ago. I don't even remember when. It was a video of an octopus dreaming in a tank, and it was changing color, like it was dreaming about something,
Wow, that's even crazier than when like dogs and cats have dreams and they like flick their little paws.
How cute is that,
Fake bark. Yeah, Yahtzee was doing that the other day, and he was making little he makes his little predator hunting noises. It's like that. Yeah, it's so sweet.
That is very sweet. So yeah, in 2015, just more about like the light, how their bodies respond to light. So in 2015, researchers found that an octopus's skin is sensitive to light, that even if the skin is detached from the body, it will respond to light and change its color.
What?
And that's due to the photoreceptor genes that are active in the skin. So that is what provides that sort of basis that they can see with their skin, not just with their eyes, because it's like their skin like perceives it, and it is just so. But it's also they make this decision. So to understand like what their experience is cognitively, I think would just be all like insane. And
I was gonna say that's like outside my realm of.
And it's very, like, out of this world. Like I said, a lot of people are like, oh, octopuses are so alien, like, they're so far from us, and what's really interesting about them is they're actually not very far from us at all. They are very intelligent. They are... what was her name? Dr. Jennifer Mather. She's a professor of psychology at the University of Lethbridge, and she described octopuses as extremely exploratory, curious, and very playful.
Oh.
Yes. So on top of being like insanely smart, they're also freaking adorable and very cute. The main theory about play and how animals interact with each other, that has been around since, I'm pretty sure, like the theory of evolution, was that play was used to develop social behaviors. It was used to develop like boundaries and hierarchy, and it's more like seen in animals that have usually large-brained mammals and also mammals that live in group settings. Okay, so again, dogs, dolphins, primates. It's also seen in some birds and obviously people. But the main theory is that it's for social development. That because they live and exist in large groups, they need to have like a better understanding of their social hierarchy. So over time, like they develop the system using play. Okay. Octopuses are actually incredibly antisocial because they live their life by themselves. Like,
wow, I didn't know that.
they are pretty much just independent out there alone. They just are surviving. So the really interesting thing about octopuses, like their sense for play did not come about through social interaction, and it's also not needed for social development because they aren't developing socially. They're not living in groups. They're not,
So how did they? Because they're aliens.
It's like one of these things where it's like, I just feel like it's so interesting because we don't know what they think, and it's like really, really cool. So I have a couple of examples of, it's from an article of like, it's like 5 times octopuses made the news, but they had like a couple stories of like how octopuses like behave. And so I thought that was interesting. Okay. So this is a good one. An octopus being held in captivity at Millersville University in Pennsylvania for research purposes expressed her discontent after she received a bad meal. When she realized the food was stale, of course because it wasn't caught in the wild as nature had intended, she waited for the researcher to return to her tank. She made direct eye contact while proceeding to shove the food down the drain. Needless to say, the researcher got the point.
That sounds like some toddler shit.
It's just like,
let me show
this
you.
shit.
Yeah, let me show you what I think of that.
They're
It's
fucking
trash.
sassy motherfuckers, and they just know, they know what's up, Another one was said to, like, squirt any researcher that would, like, try to walk into the room. Another one was, like, always trying to escape.
Yes.
There was a story, also of, like, them, like, sort of measuring an octopus's, like, capacity for play, right? In a controlled environment, obviously, like they're fucking caught in a tank and they're just chilling. So I don't know what they're really going to get out of that situation. However, they provided in the tank a place for the octopuses to hide, and a place, and they put on the top of the water, they put like a little bit of water in it so it was buoyant enough that it would just float along the top, and it was a pill bottle. But the filtration system in the tank caused the pill bottle to travel along the top of the surface of the water from one side of the tank to the other. Well, the octopus would shoot a jet stream of water, which they do for fun, but it's basically like exhaling for them.
Yeah.
And he would shoot a jet of water at the pill bottle, effectively like the marine equivalent of bouncing a ball. And they did this... Right? So, like, 2 different octopuses did this. I think, like, one of them did it 14 times and one of them did it 21 times. And it's kind of like the thought of, like, yeah, like 2 or 3 times, it's kind of hard to understand. But when you're watching them do it over and over and over again, they're playing with it. They're just messing with it.
No, what I was going to say about the playing with the bottle reminds me of, like, in Chicken Run when she goes to they put her in the coal cellar. She has a little ball bouncing. Like the kind of thing that you would do, like, if you're bored, just to entertain yourself.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things is, like, not only do they play and it's not, because of social development or, like, for any reason, for social whatever, they also do get bored. And one of the examples on that article also was about an octopus who was so pissed about the situation that they were in that she pulled the drain for her tank. Yeah.
What happened to her?
She died.
She killed herself?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they also, this is a weird segue, but they also have been proven to plan for the future. There is a type of octopus called a coconut-carrying octopus that is famously, like, seen carrying coconut shells and, like, kind of walking bipedally, like, with 2 feet.
What?
And they'll take the coconut shells and bring them because they know that where they're going to be is going to be out in the open. So they will use the shells as a makeshift shelter. But they don't always carry coconut shells with them. They'll, like, leave them somewhere and then go back and get them and then use that as their shelter when they need time to rest.
What?
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
it really is. It's like the way that they cognitively, like, process and do things is just insane. I have a quote actually from Dr. Jennifer Mather, and she says, pretty much every learning task you can give them, they can do. Short-term, spatial memory, long-term, object perception, but it's more than just learning. They also do go in for the planning. So some scientists argue that the coconut carrying, or other versions of that is evidence of composite tool use, which was previously thought to just be, humans just use tools.
Yeah.
But then we also found out that primates use tools, and also some birds as well.
That's true.
But generally speaking, scientists' sort of model of intelligence in animals, they model it after the central idea of that this is, to keep up a social development and for a group living, and that the problems that they run into as a group is why they develop the way that the intelligence, then the level of intelligence, as like an evolution over time. But octopuses have no social hierarchy, therefore they have no need for social bonds, and so they believe that their intelligence evolved mainly out of like an ecological need, and out of need to outsmart predators. So it's not only like how to understand and interact with their environment at a quick pace, but also how to get out of sticky situations. More recent studies surrounding the intelligence level of octopuses prove that there is more than obviously one model for intelligence that evolves in animals, and there actually could be many more, which is kind of the thing of like, it's like, again, it's always like when I feel like we find something out or realize something like scientifically that it's kind of like, yeah, we actually don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows if we're right about the social intelligence? We actually can't measure intelligence in animals that we can't understand. It's difficult. I mean, like, obviously you can if you, like, trap it in a room and see how long it takes to get out, but that's also a bullshit way to measure, like, a true cognitive ability.
Say, yeah, exactly.
There is a documentary on Netflix called My Octopus Teacher, okay? And it is a story by Craig Foster. And it is his story about how he met an octopus and what he learned from it. Now, this is it's an amazing documentary for a myriad of reasons, but one of the things that is really interesting is that his observations, he actually made discoveries that were unknown previously about octopuses, and this came out last year.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which is one thing that I really do love about, like, some people, I feel like, get down about, like, technology and how much it's seeping into our lives, and I feel like I can kind of get that way sometimes, too. But one thing that I do love is, like, with this desire and need to sort of share information and have this, like, virtual social interaction, you get things like this where it's like this stuff that he found is not published in books, it's not published in papers, it's not online, it's stuff that no one's ever heard of because no one's going down there and doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. He went diving. Basically, he was really, gone through a lot of stuff with work, and he is a filmmaker, and like he was just really at the end of his rope, you know what I mean? Just burned out and was getting to a point of depression. And he used to go diving in Cape Town, South Africa, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's where he lives. And he used to go diving as a kid, so he decided one day that he would go diving just to, like, get back to a little bit of himself.
Yeah.
And he met an octopus down there. And he like describes it where he's like, I had this thought of like, what if I just go back every day? So that's what he did.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
I'm definitely gonna watch it while I do crafts later.
You really should. So one thing, like I think the way that he even noticed her to begin with is that he saw this really strange shape out of the corner of his eye, and it looked like this rock that had all these shells stuck to it, but it was like the opposite sides of the shells. Like it didn't look like it was stuck any particular way, and he was like, that seems really weird. So he swam to like get a closer look, and the octopus was holding with, because this was a common octopus, or Octopus vulgaria, I think is what it's called. That's the kind of octopus that it was, but it has over 2,000 suction cups on his arms, on her arms, right? It's holding hundreds of rocks and shells around herself to make herself look like something else. Like, has all of the camouflage tools in the fucking world, and this girl is picking up everything around her and is like, nope, I'm a rock, I'm a shell, I don't know what I am, but I'm not your breakfast, so fuck off. Like, and so that's how
That's cool.
It's so cool. Okay, so that was the first time that anyone ever observed that behavior in an octopus before.
Wow.
And there's so many different species of octopus that live in varying waters, varying depths, you know, so it's like we can only imagine literally what, you know, what they do and what their lives are like. But yeah, she also found and used objects as shields. You know, if she wanted to defend herself, she would pick up like a big shell and kind of use it in front of her, so that way it would protect her, and you sort of use it as a shell. When she kind of first met him, and they like, he was trying to become closer to her, she's like using shields, like little shields, like holding a couple of them up. Like I think she only had two, but obviously there's footage of this. It's amazing because it's like, and they're just going off, and I'm completely ignoring it because I'm totally on a roll.
So, he was made friends with this octopus, and she was using shells as shields because she is an octopus shield maiden.
She is. She's so cute. I love her already.
I'm not kidding. I'm going to watch it. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be adorable.
Oh my god, it is fucking cute.
So
So
I want
literally,
an octopus tattoo as well.
I've wanted one for a while, but then I always feel like weirdly self-conscious because I'm like,
Let's get it
so
together.
many people have octopus tattoos, but this is just more fucking reason.
More ammo. More
oh
ammo.
my god, it really is. So like literally, when they actually met and they had physical contact for the first time, which I know sounds dirty, but it isn't.
Yes,
They shook hands.
Oh my gosh.
Like he found her little den that she was using at the time. She ended up moving because she like was into the big city life. No, I'm just kidding.
Of course.
But no, he like literally is like sticking a little finger out to her, and she's staring at him. All of her arms are in her den, and she's literally just all eyes, just like looking at him like, what the fuck do you want? You don't seem like you want to eat me, and I can't understand why you're here. And then she brings one arm out and very daintily reaches out and like very fucking cute and gracefully like just grabs his fingers, like just he's just sticking a little finger out, and she's like, I'll touch your finger with my fingers. It's so fucking cute. So cute.
I feel like this I hope it doesn't end poorly. I don't know. You said you cried, and now it sounds adorable. I feel like something terrible is going to happen.
I was moved. I was
Okay.
truly moved. So yeah, so he spent. So here's another interesting thing, which I love this guy for doing this, and this is really in the spirit of the podcast, honestly, because you know it's like he literally was like, I wonder what would happen if I came back every day.
Yeah.
And then he did it and learned and observed things that people literally had never done before. You know what I mean? Like, it's just fucking cool. So one of the, like, I think second or third times that he interacted with her, he actually, like, dropped a lens because he, like, obviously has camera equipment with him when he's going diving. And,
did she pick it up and hand it to him?
no, it freaked her the hell out, and she got really scared. And so then he tried to, like, go closer to her den, like, kind of just as, like, I'm not threatening, but obviously that sends, like, the opposite message. And so she, like, swam away, and he was like, oh, fuck. You know, because...
No, not my friend.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. And so he spent over a week learning how to track an octopus. An animal that is, like, so, like, literally has all of the tools to disguise itself from everything, and he's learning how to track it, which I thought was really fucking cool. So yeah, so he spent over a week learning how to track an octopus, and he actually worked with these trackers in the Kalahari for a project that he was working on before, he decided that he needed a break and
wanted an octopus BFF, yeah.
Yeah. And he says, he's like, these people, like, they're not just like observing the wild, like they know, like they are in the know, like they are in that network. They can understand every subtle difference, every nuance, and that's how they are so good at tracking these animals and finding animals that like are hiding in plain sight,
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like learning, and then he starts finding, still going out there every day, and then he starts finding like crab shells and like mollusk shells, and like it's actually really interesting because so she, like, specifically her, like, she hunted a lot of a variety of different prey and would have obviously different tactics for each one, but for the mollusk it's like she had to use her beak to get into the apex of the shell and then hit it with some venom to get it to, be edible.
Like, yeah, exactly.
And then eat it out of there. You know what I mean? But it's like every single shell is not the same. So it's like, it's just so interesting because there's so many different facets to it.
So did he find her again, though?
Yeah. Yeah, he found her based off of like the mollusks and the crab shells. He was basically finding the things that she was killing and eating, and he was like, okay. And so then he got to a point where he was like, okay, she's basically within like a 6-foot radius of me right now. Like I know that she's right here. And then legit like looks up and she's like under a rock. She's like, oh, hey, I think I know you. And
Stalker.
then yeah, and then I think after that, like, she, like, comes out and, like, is like, hey, aren't you the one that scared me that one time?
Did he teach her how to high five?
She already knew, babe. Didn't you know?
Well, you said the handshaking to, like, the high five.
She has, like, a high 2000. Just splat.
Ugh. You just made that noise. That was awful. God. I hated that.
It's like one of those little gummy hand things that you used to, like, throw at the window.
And they get so grimy.
And
so
then they, like,
disgusting.
roll down,
I hate them. Like, I used to love them as a kid because they were so fun, and then Evie started getting them, and now as a parent, I understand.
It's less fun, isn't it?
Ugh, so gross.
Didn't we have those, like, little gummy dudes, too? The ones,
yeah.
And you just, like, flick them up at the ceiling, and then they don't like, ever come down.
Oh, that, too. Especially in Florida. In England, they came down, but in Florida,
in Florida, they did not come down at all.
No.
They stuck there forever. Yeah, so after, sort of reestablishing trust, like, they actually, formed a social bond, which I just find so interesting because it's like they're antisocial.
Yep.
Yet they have the social development skills to, like, play, and it's
to
just
form social bonds.
Yeah, no, because, like, then, sort of she began to, like, be more comfortable around him, so he would just follow her around. And he's, like, mapped out this whole kelp forest. He knows, like, where, I mean, it's just insane. But, yeah, so that's really what happened. He said that he couldn't stop thinking about her, and after 100 days, I know, but it's like, you're kind of obsessed. You go every day. It's like, how could you not think about it? It's so cool and exciting, and, like, I don't know.
You have to be friends with a wild animal, yeah.
Yeah, and just be and just to get into the know, and like to even track an octopus to me is just so beyond my ability to understand. Like, I mean, I feel like I can kind of understand like what it would take in the general sense, but it's literally like I can't physically imagine doing that. So after, he did all this research, right? And he didn't find anything about the shells, and he's trying to figure out what to know about octopuses to try and, like, understand her better. And, read that octopuses are basically nocturnal. But but she's out during the day, and she'll, like, chill with him, but she's not really doing anything, you know? She's in her den, she's hanging out, she's come and say hi to him, but she's not really, like, doing much. So he started going at night and started to see her hunt, and she had never hunted during the day. So he not only sees her hunting for the first time, but also sees her hunted for the first time. Yeah.
Was he her knight in shining armor?
He was not, because...
Smart.
Here's the thing, and I get it, okay? It's very interesting because this story is told from his perspective of, like, I did not expect to, like, form a bond with this creature and, you know, for this to happen and to have this understanding, whatever. He's also a filmmaker, you know what I mean? And when you think about it from, like, the David Attenborough perspective of, like, yeah, you see the birds getting, like, hunted, or, like, the deer getting hunted, but then you also see the side of the tiger, you know,
exactly.
or the alligator that is, like, they also need food, too. They also need to live as well. So it's, like, he is, like, it's, you, like, I know how important it is to not, you know, cross that boundary.
Yeah.
But he did see her get attacked by a pajama shark.
Did she die?
The shark, like, she, like, wedged herself into a little crevice, which, by the way, fun fact, octopuses can fit into anywhere that is larger than the size of their eyeball.
How?
Well, their beak is the hardest part of them, and it's smaller than their eyeball, so they can just squeeze through.
So, cats and octopuses must be related, since we all know that cats are liquid.
Say something about cats. Yeah, cats are fucking weird.
Yeah.
What's the thing about cats, though? Like, what's the...
They're liquid. They're like...
Oh.
I mean, realistically, okay, so, I mean, like, so, with Yahtzee specifically, not all cats have it, but they have it's called a primordial pouch, where it's extra skin, so that if a predator comes after them, they don't actually get anything, they just get caught on this extra skin and not their organs. But, yeah, they're very fluid, and I think it's also because so they can fit in small places and hide and wait to stalk and hunt kind of thing. Because he'll get himself stuck in the most, like, ridiculous of places. And I'm like, how did you even fit in there? And then, unlike dogs, I say that he's fluid because, like, when I pick him up, he, like, is, like, all floopy and whatever. Whereas, like, a dog, you pick him up and they're like, I'm natural.
Jill.
Except Jill. Yeah,
Jill's
that's true.
part of the Yahtzee family. But is there, like, a thing, like a bone or something where they... You know what I mean? Like, an octopus can't fit through anything smaller than its eyeball. Like,
no,
what's the thing for cats?
There's a thing. Hold on, let me check. I mean, like, they're showing, like, big-ass cats fitting through, like, 2-inch wide, like, gaps.
Yeah, no, it is pretty
and if you think, so
drastic.
Okay, this is a fake cat skull. But if you look at the size of this, it's pretty small. So you have, like,
has a skull on hand to show us.
It's fake. It's not real. The real ones are in the garage. Anyways. Ethically sourced. And not, they're bobcats. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Wow.
But you can see that the skull is pretty small, so, like, and you have the jaw, but realistically, like, their skull is not very wide. And, like, their rib cage is very narrow, too, so, like, I think that they're just very flexible and then can, like, maneuver themselves, because, yeah, these images are showing cats moving through spaces that are, like, some of them are going through, like, 2.5, 3 inches.
That's wild.
Right?
Yeah.
So, cats and octopuses are related because it's saying 6 centimeters, which is about 2 inches.
Well, we all came from the same primordial ooze.
Yuck. Thank
Yep.
you.
You're welcome for that. So, back to the pajama shark. She's wedged in that little crevice, and the shark bit down on one of her legs and, like, does that, like, death roll kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing, all right? No, about a week later. Okay, so he went back, obviously. So first of all, when that happened, he runs out of breath. So he's like, fuck. Goes up, comes back down. But he, like, you know, goes back and checks on her. Obviously, like, she's going to be pale and, like, is in poor health because she lost a fucking limb and part of her brain, you would think, right? So she actually, about a week later, was not only completely healed, but was also beginning to grow the limb
yeah,
back.
I was wondering about that.
I didn't know that about octopuses. I knew that it's like true in lizards and salamanders, and that's actually one thing that Lynn McTaggart brought up in the beginning of the book The Field, is like she's talking about the question of like cellular regeneration, and she's like, yeah, I get that it's a thing, but also how do those cells know what to grow? Like, what is it that tells those cells that gives them the blueprint to, like,
to build the correct thing?
A limb, or, like, a tail, or, like, what is it? So, and where's that, where's that stored? Like, and especially if you consider the way that, we understand octopus's cognition and the way that it works, you know, technically that's, like, a portion of their brain. A ninth of their brain, and they grow, and then they grow it back. So, and I also
that
just feel
is
like
crazy.
The way that we compare ourselves to, like, because we're speaking it in a sense of brain, and it's like I just don't feel like it's the same thing at all.
But that's the only way we can relate to it.
Exactly,
to consider it like a brain. Yeah. Wow. So she was fine. That makes me happy.
Yeah, about 100 days later, she grows the arm completely back, and she's a fucking badass. All right.
What's her name? Did he name her?
He did not name her because she's not a pet, and she was a wild creature, and it's just like so incredible because it's like he's obviously very moved by her, and it's just, but it's also just really amazing, because it's like, because you get to see her react to situations differently. It's like you get to see her hunting crabs versus hunting lobsters, which is like when
different techniques that she uses.
And then the mollusks and all that. And like when she switches up to lobsters, she's getting really frustrated. And and they even said that in like I think like a PBS interview. They were like, it was so interesting to see this octopus like have such a relatable fucking emotion that like exactly how she feels because she's pissed. Like she can't catch one and they're right there, And she actually changes her hunting strategy for the lobster to like monkey in the middle it, like because Craig is there, and he's
so she adapts to use him.
Yeah, she was like, cool, if you could just stand right there, I'm just gonna and gets it, and like comes on top of it, and I'm
definitely gonna watch this while I'm painting later.
Do it. So it's situations like that kind of like show the critical thinking, the problem solving, the decision making. It's like to observe an octopus for like a year and film it every day and to understand its patterns and like its behavior, and it's like she is like when you're watching it's like she is like a character, It's like you have a better understanding when you can visualize the situations that she's presented with.
What's the life expectancy for octopuses? That's where you were going?
I was just about to say that. You're right on target. I'm going to stop clearing my throat. So, their lifespan is about a year long.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And what's amazing is that he was there for like, I think 80% of her entire life.
Wow.
Because he studied her for about a year. And yeah, so oh my gosh. There's this really sweet interaction that they show. There's this little school of fish, and she's like throwing all her legs out at them, but she's not jumping at them. She's just like wacky waving, inflatable arm waving tube man, just throwing them out there. And that was another thing he had never seen her do before, another behavior that was never really documented. Mm-hmm. And he realized after a while, he's like, oh my God, she's playing with the fish. Like, she's not trying to hunt them. She's just like, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Ooh.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's just really, really, it's just so interesting because to have that kind of like understanding, I don't know, just seeing it every single day, I can't imagine how cool that is. But
it's funny because like I know Yahtzee is a pet, But, like, I do feel like that sometimes with Yahtzee, where it's like, you know, you have this, like, you know, you get used to your daily life and you're used to, like, okay, this is the interaction. But then, like, I'll have one of my weird existential, like, experiences where I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is a whole different kind of creature.
Yeah, but you have an understanding.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel, you know, with Jack and Jill, too. It's like...
And I know exactly when, like, because if I do something that he doesn't like, he'll go run and start clawing at his claw tree. Like,
yeah,
I'm
like he's
so
like...
annoyed at you.
Right?
And I'm like,
yeah,
all right,
and
chill.
Jill, like, throws her snout up in the air, trying to fucking flip her blanket all around,
Yep.
and she stops and is, like, staring at you, like, you're the reason I feel this way, you know?
Yep. It's just, yeah. And so, yeah, I can't imagine having that, like, with a little wild animal, too.
It's just really such a cool thing to get to, like, see. And, but yeah, so their life expectancy is about a year, and
So
both male and female octopuses die shortly after mating. Yes. So the males generally will die, like, pretty close to after they do the thing, and then they're like, cool, I'm out. And then...
That's all I wanted out of life.
yeah, pretty much. I've seen things where it's like they'll be confused and they don't understand, like, space and time. But the thing is it takes so much energy for them to do that it literally kills them. So she...
Yikes.
So for him, that's, like, all the energy, I guess, that he has. But then
Yeah.
for her, she puts all the rest of her energy into hatching, or to laying eggs. And so... another crazy thing that I learned is that octopuses will lay over 500,000 eggs, and only a handful of them will survive.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, and then, so she literally, like, so he found her one day, and she was with a mate, and he was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. I fucking love you, and you're about to just have a bunch of babies and leave me, Charlotte's Web style.
Oh, man, yep.
Sorry, guys, for that.
All the spoilers today. Although, if you don't know that spoiler, like...
Yeah, but I was really more, like, sorry for the trauma. But,
that.
But, I mean, that's kind of what it's like. She had her eggs, like, you know, she had done all that she needed to do in life. And, yeah, there is this really cute thing where after she's playing with the fish, she kind of just, like, lifts off and, like, goes over to him and, like, lays on his chest, and it's, like, being so freaking adorable. So that's all the crazy stuff that I learned about octopuses. I mean, there's a lot out there, and I don't know, I thought they were so cool and so interesting. And also, here's why I wondered about it. So my friends and I were all hanging out one time, and we decided to ask, like, oh, what if you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be?
Ooh.
And I just always thought octopuses were so cool, and I'm like, they're just, like, so different from us. I would love to know what that's like.
Yeah.
And that was kind of just, like, my knee-jerk response at the time, but I fucking stand by it, especially after learning all of this. It's like, it's a fast and, you know, hard lifestyle, but it's like, shit, you know?
Sounds interesting, though, too.
It's just so different. I don't know. So, yeah, so that's what had me wondering about that. What had you wondering about time travel? Just science in general?
Because our father, who art in the bathroom...
oh, yeah, I forgot
forever
you did say that.
Scrolling through Instagram Reels.
I know.
One of the things he spammed me with, I mean, lovingly sent me messages, because that's his love language, you know, is sending us videos on Instagram. But yeah, he sent me this one that had to do with the time traveler, and I looked into the article that he sent me, but there wasn't enough information on it.
Yeah, no, I just was looking back over my text with him. I was like, oh yeah, he did send me some really good shit.
Yeah. No, he's definitely sent some good stuff. But yeah, that's what I read the article and I was like, I don't think I can use this. And I'm like, but what about time travel in general? And then that's why I started. Yeah.
I was looking at a bunch of different topics, and also thank you to everybody who provided suggestions, because I appreciate that. And I'm excited to look into new things. So yes, keep them coming. But yeah, no, but the topic I was originally going to look into wasn't a suggestion. I just wasn't like feeling it. And then I was just thinking, I don't know, it came up again where someone I think asked me like, oh, if you could be anything, what would you be? Or like, what would you come back as or something? And I was just like, yeah, fucking octopus. Then I was like, you know what? Well, what about octopuses? Like,
What about them?
is it octopi? Is it octopuses? You know,
Oh,
I started from there and
I
just...
I was kind of Googling, and octopi is only used for a specific type of octopus as the plural.
Interesting. God, there are so many really fucking cute types of octopuses. I hate saying octopuses now. You made me hate it.
I know,
but I love
it's
it.
terrible.
And also, for some reason, I didn't know that they evolved from mollusks. I didn't realize. Like, I knew there were cephalopods, but it's like I didn't have that. Like, oh yeah, you know.
I mean, like, you say it and it makes sense, but I don't think that
it makes sense.
Yeah, I specifically, like, that was something that I knew beforehand.
Yeah.
Is a squid a mollusk, or is it just cephalopod? It's a cephalopod, right?
Mm-hmm. And, like, cuttlefish.
Cuttlefish are so cool.
Yeah, but also so are snails and stuff.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Technically, right?
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Snails and slugs related.
Which is also so weird to me that, like, fish eat other fish, and, like, she's a cephalopod, and she's eating other cephalopods. And I'm just like, that's like if we ate monkeys.
I'm sure some people do somewhere.
No, but it's like like a taboo thing.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm not saying I'm trying to eat monkeys, good God, but I'm just saying, like, it's really odd how nature is sometimes, because you're like, oh, why are you eating one that's like you? Is that what you're supposed to do? Like,
it's weird how
they
nature
don't care.
works.
It's hard out there, and they will eat whatever the fuck they can get their little hands on.
Or little
grabbies, little suckers.
Yep, little suckers.
So long, suckers. But yeah. So I thought that was really interesting.
I love
it.
I
wanted to do like a nice, cute topic and not. But I love how it still ended up with me and underwater somehow. Like, it's always a body of water. I don't know why. Maybe I should have been a marine biologist, because
I mean,
secretly I want to be in the water, but I just don't want to be.
So I'm wondering if, like, in a past life you had some weird traumatic water experience, or like that's how you died.
Ooh.
Or something, so you, like, loved it, but then it ended up killing you, so you have, like, this love fear of it, you know?
Like, weird, irrational fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like I can't recreationally just be in the water, but it's like, if it's a serious situation, and, you know, I'm, like dive hiking, you know? Scuba? Is it scuba? No. Snorkel. Snorkeling.
There you go. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just going down there with a snorkel and was just like, I mean, obviously you're like holding your breath as long as you can, and then you go back to the surface. Nuts. I think that's so cool.
I'm excited to watch it because it sounds like a good one.
Yeah,
and I finally got through all of the Psych material, all 8 seasons, and I watched Psych the movie, and
there's a movie?
It's just like a long episode. It's only an hour and a half, and then there was another Psych movie that they did in 2020, which was pretty good too.
What? Was it with the same cast?
It was.
With Dule Hill?
Dule Hill, everybody came back, and so actually they did it, and it centered around Lassie, which was really nice, because the actor in real life had a stroke, and it messed him up hardcore. You know, like, he had to relearn how to walk and how to move and how to, like, do basic things. And so they kind of address it in the show as part of the story, too, which I thought was really nice. And, I mean, like, it was good in general, but it was also nice knowing that background, that they, like, came together to include him in a new project, even, you know, with his new... It's a new life, essentially, after having a stroke like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, now I have something new to watch. That's the moral of that story.
Wow.
Although I do also have 3 episodes of Ghost Hunters or Ghost Nation to catch up on.
You know what? Did I tell you about us watching Life in Color?
No.
David Attenborough's new series on Netflix?
Wait, yes, you did.
Go watch it. It's so good. So good.
I have to. Actually, it's funny because when I was watching the Psych movie, there was a dog barking, and Yahtzee was watching the show while the dog was barking the whole time. I was like, what is this man talking about? Or this this guy, why is he making so much noise?
Such a racket.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was good. I'm glad we both did it. I think it's funny when we're on the same page about, like, let's talk about something happy. And
Talk about slippery bitches.
Yeah, time is a slippery bitch. Yeah, that is a very appropriate title now. Slippery bitches. Octopuses in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also, like, I know I've said this before, but I just like how I never expect what you're going to talk about.
Same, dude.
Yeah.
Same.
It's like a total surprise.
I was kind of struggling this week, to be honest. Because I just wasn't feeling like, jazzed about anything.
Yeah.
And then it's like I always kind of have to tap into that little, like, what would I blow this off to do?
Yes.
Oh, look up octopuses? Done. That's what I'm going to do.
That's so funny, because that's what I do. I'm like, how can I turn this into something that I would get lost in really quickly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Put those procrastination skills to use.
I mean, yeah.
Distraction skills, I guess. But
It's our superpower.
Hells yeah.
Hell yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you for joining us, everybody, on our adventure into Snature.
Oh my god, yes, Snature. I forgot about Snature. It's been such a fucking eventful evening. Good gravy.
What about Natiance? Like nature?
No.
No, I like Snature.
Nascence.
There we go, that's better. This also sounds weird, though.
With a silent T. Nascence.
Yeah.
Achoo. Bless you.
So, that means that next week...
Wait. Yeah, what is next week?
We're gonna do paranormal/supernatural.
Oh, goody.
Yeah.
So I actually had a couple that I had a few that were suggested to me where I was like, I don't know if this is science and nature or if this is paranormal and supernatural.
Hey,
I can't tell.
I already told you we're fluid about the subjects. Next week will be paranormal and supernatural, and hopefully we'll be able to wow you with our crazy stories. I'm sure we will at least wow each other, so that's what really
At the
matters.
very fucking least.
If you like us, hopefully you do, please rate and subscribe on iTunes. That really helps us out. We're also very active on Instagram at wonderlust.pod. We're also on Twitter, which we're leaving as a sort of time capsule at podwonderlust.
Yes, no time has been recorded on it thus far. Should we feel so inclined, or should you feel so inclined, go check it out. It's like one of just those weird abandoned places on the internet.
So I'm kind of feeling like we need to make it like a time. It's our Twitter capsule. So we will check it in approximately 6 months and see if anything has happened. Just to give you a heads up.
That's a good idea, actually.
Right? Because then there's an excuse. There's a reason behind our madness.
Yeah, I guess.
We also have a website. It's magnificent. We're at the wonderlustpodcast.com, and
check it out.
Yeah, there's a contact form. You can get in touch with us, and also, like, please send us suggestions. We're getting suggestions, and we like it a lot.
Love suggestions.
Yes.
And also, I love to hear about things that I've never heard about before and be like, oh, I get to learn about this for fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's all the plugs. Is that all the plugs?
Yeah. Yeah, and if you can travel in time, then go back in time to tomorrow, which is Saturday, and visit Sarah at the art show.
Yes! We'll be posting on Instagram a lot and show you guys how it's going. But it's going to be a good time. We can't wait to do more events in the future as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so,
Hey, Wanderers. It's time for us to wander off.
Goodbye.